everyone, and welcome to the Egbon Podcast, where we have candid conversations with migrants or children of migrants who are doing very well in their careers in the hopes to inspire the next generation of dreamers. Today, we are joined by the outstanding Congolese Argentinian award-winning Afro-Latina singing sensation, Juanita Euka.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm really good. Thank
Welcome.
you for having me.
Oh, thank you for joining us. Of course.
Yeah.
Juanita is a phenomenal performer who has been performing for the past 2 decades.
Oh my God, time flies.
On stages across the world. She's open for Elton John, for Femi Kuti, for Calle 13.
Calle 13. Yeah, Calle 13.
You've performed on stages like at the Glastonbury Festival. You performed just all around the world, really. Cuba, France, Germany, Brussels, Spain. Really everywhere, and also you come from royalty, don't you?
Oh my God!
Yeah, she is the niece of the legendary Congolese rumba sensation Franco Luambo, and she is the granddaughter of Justine Marie
Marie Bomboko.
Bomboko. Yes, he actually signed the independence of the Congo.
Yeah.
So truly, it is amazing to have you here with me, and I just wanted to have a conversation with you about your upbringing. So let's start at the beginning. Mm-hmm. Where were you born?
So I was born in Madrid, in Spain, but spent very little time there. And my dad started his career as a diplomat of Zaire at the time, and now it's DRC. We changed the name. And so my dad lived there even before he met my mom. Then my mom moved there. Then they were traveling back and forward, Brussels, the Congo, and traveling. And then I was born there, and then we moved again to Tunisia. That was his next diplomatic post. Then back to the Congo again, and I must have been around maybe almost 2 or something.
Yeah.
And then the biggest post that my dad had was Argentina. I spent my formative years there. So that's been the journey since like an infant. Spending the majority of my childhood in Argentina, and most of my memories are there.
So how was that experience growing up in Argentina? First of all, what was it like for you to grow up in Argentina, but also as someone from a different background?
Yeah, to me the norm was being at home with my family, speaking Lingala and French, watching some VHS videos of Congolese primetime television of like Congolese music, and listening to Congolese music on the weekends with my dad. So that was the life and the mixture of going to school and with Argentinian kids speaking Spanish. So there was this duality. That was my norm.
Yeah.
To me, it was normal. But obviously, when you speak to people, they're like, "Oh, well, this is a bit weird."
Yeah.
But that was the norm for me.
What were your I guess your early influences musically? You know, where did music? I know you come from a family of musicians. They're musicians in your family, but what were the sounds you were listening to as a child?
There was a variety of sounds. I think growing up at home with my family, there was a lot of music at home. Buenos Aires is a city filled with a lot of art, with a lot of excitement. So I was really much drawn to that as well, the space that I was growing up in. And also at home, in school, in the streets, whatever, that information, I was just like a sponge, just absorbing all that energy, all that music. And I think I was quite sensitive to music. I felt the power of music, if that makes sense. So I just enjoyed it so much without thinking that I would do that as a job when I was a child. And even Brazilian music, I was very much exposed to that. So obviously they have the carnival around the time that we had the holidays in school. We had the holidays in Argentina. So my dad will travel a lot to Brazil and bring all these tapes, and I would listen to samba. I would listen to so much different types of music. On the radio would be like Latin pop music of the time, and at home will be like Franco Luambo, Sukus, and all these sounds, which it was a very epic time for African music as well, because there was so much genres and so much sound. So there's been a blend of of all this music that I was exposed to as a kid.
Do you remember some of the Argentinian musicians you were listening to?
Mercedes Sosa, one of them that I really loved. There was also other international Latin artists, Luis Miguel, an artist called Thalia, I really liked. She's from Mexico, a lot of Mexican singers. There's such a, it's an endless list of artists.
Yeah.
There's so many people.
When did you decide to go into music? Or your earliest memories of actually you performing, or you showing the interest in actually doing it more than just for fun, if you remember?
Well, my first performance was when I was around 5. I was very, very young, but it was more like dancing. And there was an artist called Xuxa,
Okay.
Brazilian,
Okay.
and she sang in Spanish. She had a TV show teaching kids how to brush their teeth and dancing. So I just enjoyed that so much that I was drawn to that. But I would say there was a moment when I was around 12. We went on a trip with I was in secondary school, and I went on a trip with my school and schoolmates, and my close friends knew that I liked singing, and they always encouraged me to sing, and we all had to share what we could do.
Right.
So that was the first time I kind of like performed in front. Like, to me, it felt like this is a performance.
Right.
And I just sang, and I liked it, and I enjoyed it. And I think then I made that decision because I was listening to a lot of music for so many years as a kid. And then I felt I think this is the path. I was so
Sure and clear. Yeah.
For a kid, it's kind of
that's a beautiful thing. Did you have support as well? How did your family responded to your interest in music?
I mean, I did it for myself. I wasn't that vocal to my parents.
Okay.
I think I was showing them later on, this is what I want to do.
Yeah.
My mom, I think she's been more, I would say, more attentive, more open to the idea. With my dad, was a bit strange. He wasn't sure, but then they came to a conclusion, definitely that comes from, my dad said, from the side of my family.
Yeah.
Because there were a lot of musicians there, and with Franco and stuff like that. And for him was just like, oh yeah, it must be just that.
Yeah.
And I just, just leaned towards just doing the work and kept going.
So how was it growing up in Argentina, though? I think in terms of your own identity, because it must be kind of interesting being so strongly rooted in your own culture as someone who's Congolese, but also being exposed to this other culture that's also very different.
Yeah. I would say it was interesting experience, and very much it's something that I'm still going through at the moment, that I'm like, I can't believe that happened. But it's something that has been a very strong, I would say, experience for me growing up the way that I did, because obviously I spoke just like Argentinian people, but obviously I don't look Argentinian.
Yeah.
I'm African.
Yeah.
Black girl speaking Spanish with Argentinian accent, and people are like, what is this?
Yeah.
But to me, I felt like I also had like a very much of a beautiful community, a really nice community, very small community of other people coming from different places, different backgrounds.
Yeah.
That my parents and friends used to we'll meet up and just have a great time.
Yeah,
so
to cultivate.
I think that also made me feel nice, and it also made me feel like I was enjoying my childhood.
Right.
It was very much of a difficult thing to know that you come from one space, but for me, the Congo was always in my imagination.
Right.
Also, my parents telling me about Congo, so I knew that one day we'll go back. I knew that this is my culture. But I also was in love with Argentinian culture.
Right.
So I was kind of like with these two cultures.
Dancing between one and the other.
Between one and the other, exactly. And also I was very much fortunate to have really great friends. That was a beautiful community. But the reality of being Black in an environment that's the majority of people don't look like you. When you come out of the community and you go out in the streets, you're walking in the streets and somebody will call you and say, directly just talking about the color of your skin, I always used to feel like, it used to throw me off, like, oh my God, why that comment?
Right.
And to me it was strange, because to me it was like, but all my family are Black.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then that was the reality of starting to get to know the world, that the world look at people a certain way and things like that.
And also, I guess recognizing yourself, because I think I often have these conversations with people who are from different parts of the world. It's also recognizing yourself as Black, for instance, right? Because you don't often, as a kid, you don't think of yourself as that. You're just.
It comes later. It comes later that you're starting to realize, actually, we are Black.
Yeah.
But in a way, I was raised also with my father, who was very much proud of his Blackness. Mm-hmm. He'll be like, I can go anywhere and whatever, and he didn't care. He was much of a man that really was very proud of being Black. So I was raised with that energy. Mm-hmm. And I think there's this energy, and then there's this energy of society that wants to put a group of people down. Yeah. So then you start to realize that there's power into loving yourself. Yeah. And
accepting yourself.
Assertiveness. Yeah. And accepting yourself. There's power in it, and then you start to, with time, you're starting to see that. And a lot of people will ask me, but how was Argentina for you? And but I feel like it's quite similar being in London, because you can be in environments where there's so many environments where Black people could be the only few minority organization. And it's very similar and parallel to my experience in Argentina, being like, they're the only Black girl, and then the next Black person will be like my sister or my other siblings.
Right.
It's the same narrative, having that experience in the diaspora, I would say, in certain spaces, not every time. There could be like spaces where you can just see Black people all together from different backgrounds. We are very diverse group. Yeah. So,
what is, because I'm so curious about your experience in Argentina. Yeah. What is your favorite Argentinian dish?
Oh my God, there's so many. I love empanadas. Mm-hmm. I love milanesas. And also I love the bread. I miss eating the bread.
What's special about it?
Because you go to a panaderia, like a place where they make bread.
Okay.
Buy bread from there.
Yeah.
I miss mate, drinking mate, but you can still drink mate in London.
Okay. What is mate?
Mate is kind of like, I don't know how to explain it. It's like tea, but it's not tea. And you have una bombilla. I don't know how to translate that. And then you drink it and you share it. It's like a communal thing.
I see.
That you do and you drink. Obviously, the barbecues, asados, and
And what would you say is your personal best experience from Argentina?
Personal
best memory.
Best memory. I've got so many. There's so many memories.
Yeah.
Also, I think with Argentina, there's a mix of a lot of nostalgia, because I was a child. Mm-hmm. So I think universally we all have this feeling of, sometimes we do miss when we were younger. Yeah. It's a special time. So I think Argentina represents that for me. Yeah. Because that's what it is. So I think it's a mixture of that. So it's hard to pick one moment.
Because when I think of my childhood, I think of the beach. I think of certain smells, of like grilled chicken and grilled lamb, I think of the sound of music and the drums on the street. I think of those things. So at 12 years old, you basically had your first real performance, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
At least for yourself, yeah?
Yeah.
So then what was the next step? When did you, what happened next? How did you slowly but surely get into the music world, or come to terms with you becoming a singer?
From that time, there was that transition where we had to leave Argentina and come to London. Mm-hmm. So I already had in the back of my head, okay, this is going to be a different experience. It's going to be a different life. Everything's going to be different. But I had an idea, okay, this is what I'm going to do. Mm-hmm. So it was just like basically just starting with singing lessons in London. Mm-hmm. And I remember those few early years, still had to learn the language and things like that. But you, as a child, as a kid, you just rapidly
pick up
get into it. Mm-hmm. And it all began just like that, just with classes and just more classes.
Yeah. Did you have mentors, or did you have people that came along the way that were just like, that kind of pushed you, or that kind of gave you good mentorship or guided you in the industry?
Not really. I think it was more of when everything I was doing it because I wanted to do it.
Right.
And then slowly I began drawing that energy into my life with teachers and mentors came later on, like when I went to college and I was dancing. I had like great dance teachers that I feel like that was really where I started to embody myself as an artist and what was to become for me in my life, in my journey. So it's everything's been a journey, and you draw that energy as you go along.
Why did you go to college and what did you study?
I went to Haven College long time ago, and I did a performing arts BTech course, which when they told me about it, I just wanted to sing. I wanted to sing more than dancing.
Right.
But I think in the flip side was a great exposure for me. Because dancing gave me all the discipline that I needed to embody myself as an artist and a singer. There's so much into dancing in that universe that I absorbed very quickly, and I felt that I had it in me for a very long time. Because going back to Argentina again, like I said, in Argentina there was so much art, there was so much things going on. I used to be obsessed with a TV program called Chiquititas. And Chiquititas was a program of young children. They were orphans, they were singing and dancing, and I just wanted to be on TV. I just wanted to be in that program.
Right.
I was desperate, like crazy about it. So that energy of wanting to dance and sing was
a drive,
side of me. Although there was also the academic side, that the expectation from my parents to study. But then I had this drive of wanting to be on stage. So yeah.
Where do you think that drive came from, personally?
I don't know. I think that drive, I'm not sure where it comes from. I think it's a little bit in my personality. I think I've always been quite joyous sort of child, very I listen to music and just get excited. And also it's for what I was seeing as a child. There was a lot of parties when we were kids, and I would see my dad dancing and moving around the room, and I think to me, seeing my parents having joy, it was a moment that to me was very special.
Yeah, magical.
It was like I just wanted to live that moment over and over again in my life, because there's so much chaos in the world, right? And I feel like with dancing, it's kind of like I found my peace in the world, in a world that the discipline is very strong and stuff like that. To me, that everything that's routine, discipline gave me peace.
Right.
And also the joy. So all that was just giving me that peace and joy that I felt like required me to, I don't know, to motivate me or to give me that space.
Push you,
Go. Yeah.
What was do you remember your first professional gig? Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, what was it?
I did so many things in between, but my first professional gig, I would say, where I had to perform and get paid and stuff like that, was with a band called Malambo. And with Malambo, I sang Afro-Peruvian music.
How did that come about?
So like I said, I was dancing, and I studied dance. I did musical theater, and as any other performer, you put an ad. I did put an ad, I think, on Star Now. At the time, I don't know if that.
I think it does. Still does. Yeah. I think it does. Or you might.
I don't know.
It might look different, but I think it does. Yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
I still have.
Yeah.
But everything was kind of new.
Right. Yeah.
And then I just put an ad on it. And then I was looking for things, auditioning everywhere, and even in the pop world. But then I always felt much of an outsider.
Yeah.
I always felt like an outsider.
Well, I can imagine that with your upbringing as well, right? You're always feeling like you don't fully belong, because wherever you go, you're like, and then also all the traveling as well from your parents being diplomats. Yeah.
So that also was still very fresh as in my young years, when I was, teenager in early 20s, it was still there. It was fresh for me.
Yeah.
Still missing Argentina. So it was really crazy. And I think that's the experience that third culture kids go through a lot.
Because you don't feel like you really belong to one place.
No, you don't understand. You
yeah.
don't even know the terminology. I learned about it way later in life, and that really gave me light, and I felt visible, that I could see, okay, that makes sense. It's like I'm still reading about that to this day.
Yeah, no, it's important for us to see ourselves and to see ourselves in other people, to have this like example of what's possible, but also what it looks like when whatever it is that you're going through, especially for us as migrants or children of migrants, it's like you feel like you don't really belong into one place or the other. So to have these examples, to have these ideas put in front of you, it kind of gives you a sense of, okay, this is where I belong. I'm one of those people.
Yeah, you do want to, mirror. We feel we are social beings that we thrive when we feel that we belong somewhere.
Yeah.
And being a third culture kid, that is the challenge.
Yeah.
You feel like you don't belong anywhere.
Right.
Even in your own culture, you feel like you don't belong. You're trying, I also feel like I do chase my own culture all the time. And that's also something that I'm still going through now, which is insane.
No, which is so, it's just so fascinating. It's I find it, you're always chasing it because you remember it, or you've been taught it, but you're not fully there anymore. So you're not really there anymore, but you're still trying to like hold on to it because it does give you a sense of identity. But I think I've found over time that you can just embrace all these different parts of you, right? Because you're not just Congolese, and you're not just Argentinian, and you're not just English. You're all these things.
There's all these labels as well, and I feel like I go quite deep when it comes to identity and things like that. And I tried to explore that with one of my songs that I did in my album. There's a song called Baño de Oro, which means golden bath.
Okay.
And in the song, I'm talking a lot about the river. I'm talking about ancestry. I'm talking about the Congolese people coming from the river, and also I'm talking about stripping the identity of being Congolese, because I also felt by being Congolese and growing up with 3 different flags, the names being changed, always chasing who we are and our identity. And I'm very proud of who I am and the history of resistance of Congolese people. But also, then you try to dig deeper into these sets of decisions that were imposed into the African continent and also in Latin America of nations. It's all like it's a construct of nations. And then when you start to strip these identities that are there and we are born into it, then it becomes quite like, so what's
there? Yeah.
And
what's
the
left?
song I try to be very much of is my journey going back to the land of my ancestors and paying that homage for all the people that were gone in the Middle Passage, that went to places like Cuba, which Cuba has a huge connection with the Congo music. The heritage is there, and the rest of the Americas. So there's so much that I go deep into that song, into that quest of identity, like who are we? Who is this who are we as African people? And even the word Africa is a made up word. It goes so deep into this construction, and I'm always trying to find something that's authentic to me, and also embrace the journey and different cultures that I've met and different people that I've met, because at the end of the day we are all humans. But then there is this layers that what are there in the first place. But
it's this constant battle as well, because you're always shifting left and right, but I think ultimately this becomes who you are in that quest, that journey. That becomes who you are this person that is this collage of all these different identities.
Exactly. And then also it is a way for me to say, thank you for everybody that contributed in my life. Thank you for everybody that has given me so much love and care, and this space for me to explore who I am as an artist, as a human being.
Yeah.
It's because of all that collective group of people where I've come from that made it possible for me to be where I am.
Yeah. And that experience as well. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's deep.
So Malombo, so you put an ad on Star Now, and then you get to audition.
I get to audition. I didn't really audition. I think they saw the ad, and I think they wrote. I think it was David Mortara, who was a friend and musician and a researcher of Afro-Peruvian music, that messaged me talking to me about the music. And then I rapidly searched it, and then I had no idea about Afro-Peruvian music and the strong connection Afro-Peruvian connection, and also the style of the music that I felt like I could sing it, and I think also the sound, the way that I sing, and I think the ability that I have to sing, it is in Spanish, in Latin, singing Latin American music. I think that's my strength. But then I also been open to really explore more with music, because I think music has that power to just explore different things. So I was exposed to that, and then I just went.
You ran with it, yeah. So you had a good time. And then after that, what was the next career highlight for you? What would you say the next career highlight was after Malombo?
So Malombo, a lot of people, when I used to sing in Malombo and I'll do the gigs, people come up to me and say, you should have a go and sing salsa or things like that, which salsa music, terminology of salsa comes from New York. A lot of the Latin American immigrants at the time invented, this. It was a name that they needed to give it to this mixture of sounds that was happening at the time, and also the identity of Latino people in the United States, especially in a place like New York. So that all began there. That's how we know salsa, and that's how
the whole world knows about it. Yeah,
it has a long history going back to places like Cuba and so many other places like Venezuela, Colombia, Puerto Rico, that also play this music.
So you decided to delve into salsa. That's what happens next.
So it was kind of like there brewing. Like, it was in the back of my head, like this is something that I could do. In between jobs, I met a friend of mine who's a lovely friend of mine who was in a choir called London Lukumi Choir, a community choir that sang songs to the Orishas, which are the deities in Yoruba, that I know exist in Benin.
Yeah, of course, yeah. And I'm actually working on the projects about Orishas, but yeah.
So it all came, we sing all together with drums, bata drums. And to me, that also been a really vital experience to really understand the folklore, the African folklore of Cuba. And there's so much sounds in Cuban music. That was then, and then I do the gig with his choir, my first gig, and I met a very key person, which I began a really beautiful and fantastic, crazy journey in music with Eliane Correa, and which she was the band leader of a band called Wara. And that's where everything started, really.
Yeah. So you joined Wara, and then you started performing around the world, really? Going different places?
Well, with Wara, we did a lot of stuff in the UK, and we started to get out a little bit in Europe. And the project, it was a beautiful project, and I feel like that's where I developed more as a singer. I was learning so much about different Latin American sounds and singing also the music in different styles. So
I'm here. What I'm hearing is that you've just been open to opportunities, and you just kind of ran with whatever presented itself to you, and you were never afraid of the challenge, really, of learning something new or being exposed to a world that you
And I think it is a challenge being a front woman and singing and doing all these things. It can be a lot, but I just went for it.
That's just your nature. You're just fire.
I try.
So then after Wara, how does the London Afrobeat Collective come into place?
So London Afrobeat Collective came into play because I was in between London Afrobeat Collective and Wada, I began collaborating with a band called Animans. So I meet with Wada, and they asked me to do a few songs with them. And I remember every gig I would just run. I don't know why, but every gig I'm running to go on stage just to sing 1 or 2 songs.
Yeah.
Just turn up, I'm here. And I remember I ran through the fields of Secret Gardens. She's late, man. And then everybody were inside this tent and it was raining, and I arrived and grabbed the microphone and just began singing. So Animan's been a beautiful adventure as well, musically, and also I've grown a lot as an artist. And we made an album called Exotic Other, and the songs we were doing then grew to be an album. And the guys were approached by True Thoughts Records, and that also became like another journey. So Wada was a little bit on hold. Eliana at the time, I think, she went back to Barcelona, so we had like a little hold there. So I was doing that, and then subsequently London Afrobeat project came along, and I remember I was shooting with Animans. We're doing a few like live shots of one of the live EPs we wanted to release, and then I get a message from London Afrobeat Collective saying, "Oh, we looking to have you in the band because the singer at the moment, she wants to go in through acting. She wants to go to a different path. Her name is Funke. She's Nigerian. Amazing singer. I saw her performing with London Afrobeat Collective, and I thought, wow. And also I've been very much obsessed with Fela.
Yeah, Fela. Fela. He was the godfather of Afrobeat. Yeah.
And the band, before I joined the band, they went to Nigeria. So I was like, okay, guys, I want to be in this band.
Yeah.
I want to explore this. I think with Animans, I was already also touching the fields of Afrobeat. And I just really felt like, Fela Kuti to me represents such a powerhouse. I don't think there's ever going to be an artist like him.
He was such a pioneer, and also just bringing the African sounds and mixing them with jazz and kind of blending it together. And that's the power of those kind of pioneers, right? The ability to bring things together and make people hear things in a different way. But I can hear that in your music as well.
And again, to me, I felt like it was a little bit, okay, this is the next challenge, because I have to, show these people that I am going to be able to lead,
Yeah, lead.
And
this
again,
band.
I did it.
So what has been one of the highlights of your time with the London Afrobeat Collective? Because I know
we got so many stuff. I mean, I've been touring with the band for the last 8 years. So every summer we're on the road, like proper something also that I always wanted to do in my life is being on the road. And a lot of things that I wanted to do has happened. We've toured so many places. We've been in France. We've done a lot of Spain. We're going back to Spain and France as well. We're going to go to Italy this year, Germany, places like that. Where else? Athens.
Nice.
Greece.
Yeah.
In Gagarin, there's this amazing venue. Very, very cool. Malta. Played in Malta.
Nice.
So we've done a lot.
It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Do you think that the little Juanita will be so proud of you now?
Sometimes I think so.
No, why would she not be?
Yeah,
you are singing and you are dancing.
Yeah.
And your music was in the TV show Killing Eve?
Yes.
Yes. That's
So that happened during 2020, just before lockdown. That's how I started the year.
You're like, it cannot get any better than this.
It was insane because when that project came along, I was burned out in 2019 because, as you can imagine, I was doing Animans, I was doing Wada, I was doing London Afrobeat, I was doing everything like that before lockdown happened. So I spent a few days away in Mallorca. And then I get a call from a message from my friend saying there is this production that needs a singer. Can you do it? And I'm coming back to London this day. And I remember I had a flight to go. I had to go to Paris because there was a gig that got cancelled, but I just used the flight to spend my birthday there. Then came back to London. And on the way back in London, I'm in the Eurostar, and then I see the emails again, and I'm like, oh my God, this is Killing Eve. And I had to be on set the next day, 4 o'clock in the morning, stayed at my best friend's house. And she was part also of the thing because she was part of the agency that got us the job. Yeah, it was like just so fast, already on set, and Jodie Comer just in front of me. The wedding scene.
Yeah, she's incredible actress.
Incredible actress. So we did that for 2 days, and then I called my producer and I said, "This is happening," and he's like, "We need to record this properly. We need to do it because that song was not recorded. It was just on SoundCloud."
Oh wow! So then you
because we recorded everything live as a live recording for the show. Then that's when I started to approach labels, and we approached True Thoughts again because of Animans and Strut. It was my producer that knew Quentin Scott from Strut, and then we just got talking and we made it happen. It happened.
That's wonderful.
I made the album, then I recorded the album during lockdown. So all that, just to go back before I did the album, I had we had plans. I meant to go with Wada in Havana and play there for the first time, but it never happened because lockdown happened.
Yeah, COVID happened.
But then different route happened for me that I created the album and recorded it during lockdown.
Oh, that's good. That's not a bad way to spend lockdown.
Yeah, so I was doing that. It was kind of like, bouncing back ideas, writing, recording. Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah. And how did the Elton John gig come along?
So the Elton John came along after the album got released. So we recorded it in 2020. And because the world was going bonkers in 2021, we couldn't get any vinyls for my album to be released. So I had to wait another year to be patient.
Yeah.
So the album came out in 2022. It just happened quite fast. The album comes out, and around that same time, we get a message from our label saying that Elton John wants to play one of my songs in his Rocket Hour show. He played one song and then he played another one. He was talking about me on the radio, and then I get an invite to open up for him at the the Somerset Festival. Yeah.
But how does that feel though for you? Thinking about little Juanita, thinking about your journey, up to that point, like getting an email to open for Elton John, that must have been exciting.
It was insane. I couldn't believe that happened. I think I felt very much like, wow, because I'm very grateful that it happened also. To me, just the journey of having the music out, it was already crazy. And then having that, it was like, wow, what's going on? And it was a beautiful experience, and I got to meet him as well. He's a lovely, lovely person.
Yeah, everyone says that he's lovely.
Yeah, he is.
And then after that, what would you say was the next career highlights? I know you've done some acting as well. We were in the show together.
We're in a show together, Rumble in the Jungle.
Yeah, it was really fun. You were fantastic in it. Do you want to talk about your role a little bit?
So I played Celia Cruz. Celia Cruz comes from Cuba. She's I would say, like the queen of salsa. She left a huge legacy of really promoting Cuban music in an international level. Her life was extraordinary, and also this year they're celebrating 100 years of Celia Cruz since she was born. I think she's one of my biggest inspiration. I think in the world of Latin music, you can't see many black women fronting. That's another reason why I liked Afro-Peruvian music, because I could see there are black women singing. So to me, that was the attraction, and like we said, it's great to be seen. Yeah. And also, not many people know about Afro-Latinas, which is weird.
But so many people know the songs, and so many people are familiar.
Exactly. Yes. But I think she's a phenomenon because she's such an international star, and she's an inspiration for me, right? And I played her. You
got to play her. You were her every night.
Her.
And people were loving it. And I loved your colorful dress. It was fantastic.
Yeah, I wore the exact dress. That's the exact dress, that she wore when she performed in Zaire. And to me, doing that role meant so much because
it was a culmination of
circle, it talks about, the place where I'm from. Zaire was still a young nation at the time. Although, obviously, the Congo hasn't had an easy ride politically. You know, we had a dictator and more dictators. But that time to me was very much a very special time to have all these international superstars and black figures coming to the Congo. It was like coming back home for all the African diaspora in Congo.
Yeah.
And
it must have been an amazing time, you know, really to experience Franco Luambo and James Brown and all these, like Miriam Makeba, everyone.
Miriam Makeba.
It must have been an incredible time. But then
so many artists that were there.
Yeah, we were able to bring that together and make people experience that.
And then a lot of people don't know about Fania All Stars. Again, like I talked about the movement of salsa music. So there were all this Latin American community playing music that has strong African
roots,
connection, roots in the music, and then bringing back to the Congo and Africa. So in a way, it's kind of like those things to me represent also what I've lived.
Yeah. So basically, the show was like a culmination of all your experiences as well. Yeah, which is beautiful. You got to play her as well, who's had also like a really interesting experience as well with her music, with her activism as well. So yeah, it's quite fantastic.
Yeah.
And now you're in a show. You're in a new show,
Paradise.
Paradise Under the Stars.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about it?
So Paradise Under the Stars, we started the production, rehearsing by the end of January, and it opened at the end of March. The show is an homage to the famous Tropicana Cabaret Club, Havana. Tropicana Club represents so many things. It's been, I would say, it was the mecca of entertainment of Cuba, and a lot of like famous artists, and also the sound, where the Latin jazz music was developed, is to me one of the biggest venues that have ever existed, and did so many amazing things. And it was just a golden era before the revolution of Cuba. And in the show, I just sing. I'm just a singer, and there's a male singer as well, and we have a band and the dancers. And we play beautiful melodies of music that comes from of that era in the 50s. Plus, we have a narrator who basically carries the story throughout the show. So you have to come and see it.
Yeah, it sounds pretty exciting. No, honestly, you are a phenomenal performer, and I just wanted to get advice from you. You know, if there are some young singers out there who want to become singers, what advice would you give them? How do you navigate being a singer? How did you navigate yourself, the career, the ups and downs? Like, what advice would you give a young singer that's trying to, especially a young woman singer in your case?
I think now we live in a world that there is so many things we can do. You know, we don't have to do just one thing. There's so much choices, I would say, in music now. Because although I sing, but I also write songs, there are also singers that produce, or you can produce for other people, or you can engineer, or whatever. I think now women are doing way more than what I did in the past.
Yeah.
I think we are in a very special place where we are growing more, and I think we need to see more women going and doing different things. The advice I would say is just to follow what you want to do, follow your heart, follow your passion. If singing is your passion, do it. But I feel like singing now is a different thing. It's a lot of hard work. You know, it's not something. I don't know whether I could advise someone to be a singer.
How do you?
I don't know.
Yeah, because it is being
a weird thing.
Yeah, being a creative is tough, and all the challenges as well. You know, so what would you tell young Juanita?
Young Juanita.
When Juanita is just leaving college.
I tell myself to go for things. Obviously, the industry has changed. It was not the industry that it was when I was a kid. That's the reality as well. And there's a lot of challenge with every career that you do. I feel like as a singer, you're not just a singer, you're like a researcher. You're also an observer of life. You're also a dreamer. We have so many things going on as singers, you know. You're also a philosopher. You're also... There's so many things. You just have to be yourself, I think, as well, and not be limited into one thing. And I think being a singer is a very tough discipline task to do. You know, whatever is artistic or like being an athlete or anything that's career, it takes a lot of like mental and spiritual connection with yourself and with your art, you know. So I feel like it's about connecting to your energy. I would advise, you know, young women and also any children that are young to really trust your energy, like disconnecting with your energy and also being open to sometimes things might not work out. You have to be open to that possibility, but not really feel like, okay, this hasn't worked out,
so you're giving up. Yes.
No, there's ways of like, okay, that's how you learn with all your mistakes.
Yeah.
And when doors closes, bigger doors can open.
Right.
You know, so I always feel like you have to continue and do it with love. I feel like that's the bottom of it. It's the love. Not just be a singer. I think you can just do more. I think women can do, not just sing, you can produce, you can compose. You know, I encourage probably people, if they want to get into music, just to do the whole thing.
To not limit yourself.
Yeah.
How do you navigate the business aspect of music? Because I'm sure it has its own challenges.
Like any business, it's tough. I think you also have to inform yourself over and over again and find ways to learn what's going on. The industry is changing rapidly, like literally every day. And find other ways of working, or learn from other people, see other examples. I do look up to other people and other artists. The music right now is still in a very fragile state, you know. There's still, you know, so much going on everywhere, globally. But I think is about continuing doing the work as much as possible, like creating things for yourself, but then at the same time learning the business and just going back and forward like that. There's no other way. It's tough.
Yeah, but make sure to learn the business and make sure to inform yourself as much as possible. So what's next for Juanita? If let's say the next year you could pick anything, you can do anything you wanted to do, what would you like to work on specifically? Or what would you like to see done differently in your industry? I guess that's like two different questions, but
Oh, it's tough. I think, I don't know, but I would still love to continue doing what I do, like creating music and things like that. I also enjoy the theater. It's hard work, but I do enjoy it. But then I also enjoy living. The time to just not sing all the time.
Having the right balance, striking the right balance. Yeah.
Find the balance more, I would say, and create more things. Who knows?
That's exciting. Well, it was lovely to have you on. I wanted to have a conversation with you and to learn about your journey a little bit and to hopefully inspire some young people out there. And it's been so lovely. I think we should definitely do it again because I feel like there are so many topics that I want to touch upon.
I know.
Yeah.
There's so much.
Yeah.
That I haven't really shared.
Yeah, I know.
Especially when it comes to identity and migration. And things like
so, what do you consider yourself African, Afro-Latina? What do you consider yourself as?
I consider myself Congolese. I consider myself African. I consider myself also very in touch with the Latin culture. And
what does it mean to you to be Latina?
I think I would say it's more the experience of living in Latin America that I share, and also topics that I care about, you know, within Latin America.
Like what?
Well, like I care about the Black women in Latin America. I care about the indigenous people in Latin America. I care about the movement of Latin America and things like that. That I find it very inspiring in a way to I feel like it's very much parallel to our experience in Africa. So a colonized continent, and we also are colonized.
Yeah. So I guess the movement to
Freedom.
Yeah, towards freedom and freedom of expression and freedom of okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. I think we can definitely do it again and just touch upon those subjects.
Yeah.
I think it'd be quite fun as well. Yeah. No, but I really wanted to know about like your own journey and you know, hopefully get some young people to be inspired and to learn from you. And yeah.
But children now, they have so much choices. I think it's so different to what we had before.
Yeah.
Why, like, you have this, you have that, but I think now they have
I know.
whole world.
But I still think, first of all, I think too many choices can be overwhelming.
It can be overwhelming.
Yeah. But I also think that you know, you are different, you know, but you are very unique, you know. I mean, of course, everyone is unique, but you are very unique.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, but you are very unique because of your upbringing, because of you know, your family, because of where you grew up, because of
the way.
Yeah, the journey. Yeah,
journey.
And the work that you do as well. So much of the work, your sound is so specific because, well, it's so specific because it's such a collage of different things, right? You sing Afro music, you sing Latin music,
and
you see,
sometimes these worlds they're apart.
Yeah.
And I feel like I'm in the middle.
Yeah, you bring them together. Yeah.
And the fact that obviously there were African people in Latin America for many, many years. But I came like for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then giving another perspective, another look of how you can experience music, how you can also share it and celebrate it and continue celebrating the legacy of African music globally. And I feel like that is a lot of what motivates me creating more music.
But that's what you do. That's all you can do as an artist, right? You can get people to see things differently. You can get people to experience what you want them to experience, or at least what you've experienced, so they can have a different perspective on things, you know. And I think that's what you do so well. You know, when I listen to your music, I can hear all these different sounds and I can hear all this experience, and I can hear it's like gumbo, you know. It's like it's like this dish that has all this palette of like different things, you know.
Like a journey of different things, and within worlds, each world has its journey as well. Argentina has its own history. The Congo has its own history. Africa has its own history. Then you have Argentina, you expand Latin America, has its own history. Then you come to London. Your mind just blows up because there's also more history, where I've also spent a lot of time developing as a singer. So all these worlds meeting each other, it creates, you know, this bridge that we need. We need to be together in order for us to move on as human species.
Yeah.
And seeing each other as a global family.
Yeah.
You know. But
that's what you do.
That's a long road.
Yeah, but but you don't got to think about that. You can only think about what you're doing.
What you're doing, exactly.
Yeah, and you're doing so well. And I know you're going on tour soon as well.
Yeah, I'm going on tour this summer.
Yeah.
I'll send you all the dates.
Yeah. It'll be fun. So if you can, catch her.
Yeah.
Wherever you are. Yeah. So thank you again, Juanita. It was lovely.
Thank you so much.
And we'll do it again.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.